All right, we will get started. So welcome everyone to Kensington Connect. This is our 7th session and actually our last webinar. Next week we have a drive-through. Thank you. So I hope you guys can make it to that. But today we have a very special final webinar with Sherry Howell from Suburban Florist. Her family has owned Suburban Florist since 1956. And we love Suburban Florists because they actually deliver us fresh flowers every Monday morning for our community. So they're really beautiful and we love Sherry and here she is. So welcome, Sherry. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me and welcome everyone. I brought lots of fun flowers for us to play with today, and I hope that there's a few things that you take away from here that maybe you didn't know before, or just a few tricks of the trade, because I've been doing this my whole life. I want to get started with one. We have a cube here. Cubes are kind of hard because you tend to put the flowers in and they flop over. So I thought I'd give you like a few tricks of how to put it in the cube so that it'll stay in there and you'll have a nice centerpiece or something for the table. So the first one is the Kensington Park Special. And it's one of Kensington Park's favorite arrangements that we make. And we take, it's blue hydrangea and white roses. I have a trick about the hydrangea too that I wanted to tell you about. I was going to take a couple of the leaves off maybe because they come and they have quite a few leaves on them. I took a couple leaves off, and the hydrangeas tend to wilt very quickly, especially if they're not processed right. So the best way to process them is we have a bucket of water here, and I call this my cut bucket. And I take all my tools over here. I take my clippers, and you actually hold the stem under the water. So you could do it in a vase if you don't, have a pot or something. It doesn't really matter where you hold the stem under the water, but each cut that you make on the flower should be underneath of the water. And a good way to measure about how you want it is here. I hope you can see this, but I'm gonna hold it up to the edge of the table. I don't think you can. So I'm gonna hold this up a little bit, and you're gonna hold the flower here, and if I wanted it to be this length, I would cut it here. If I wanted it to be this length, I would cut it here. So I'm going to hold it up to the table back here to see what length I want it, and it looks like I want it right there. So I'm going to put the clippers there, hold it underwater, and clip it here. And I'm going to do that, and while I'm doing that for each one, I'm going to put it right into the water so it stays hydrated. So that's the trick with hydrangea. And I'm going to cut each one right about the same length. And I'm going to put 3 together because I think that's going to make it nice and full and round. And
Sherry, Margaret's wondering, do you cut diagonally across the stem?
You can cut, it is better to cut diagonally across the stem. It's not completely necessary. The reason you cut diagonally across the stem is because the theory behind that is they don't take up water if they're flat on the bottom. But since it's not flat on the bottom, I think it's going to be okay. So it would be better though, because it can't hurt, that's for sure. And I thought I brought my florist tape, which is the green sticky tape, but I didn't. I did bring the clear, it's called design tape. And I'm going to take these stems and I'm going to push these together, and I'm just going to make a circle, and I'm going to tape them. Take the stems and actually take the tape and put it on the stems. And I guess, I don't know, I would think you could do this with Scotch tape or any kind of tape that you have at home, anything that would be waterproof. And I'm just going to tape it so that they stay tight. And the higher you tape them up the stem, the tighter they tend to stay.
Can you buy that tape at Michael's or a craft store?
I would think so. I think so. I know you could buy it at Michael's. You can buy it at Michael's. I know you can buy the green stretchy tape, which is what I really meant to bring as well. you can definitely buy that at Michael's. You can buy most of the supplies at Michael's or Johnson's Flower Center, or you could buy it at American Plant. You can buy it at our shop. You can buy it anywhere. And I'm going to set that in there for now. And if you want to cover the stems so you don't see it, we have two ways to do that. We have aspidistra leaves like this, and you can just cut it. I use a knife, but you can also just cut it with your clippers. And you can just wrap the vase like that and push it down in. And this will last for weeks in the water. And you can take it out and reuse it many times. And then another way you can do it is you can get this fancy leaf ribbon. And this is just a type of ribbon that is waterproof. And you can measure it by putting it around your vase like this. And again, I think you can get this at Michael's too.
Yes.
I know you can get this on Amazon. And it's about $15 a roll. And the roll will last you a lifetime. And you just push it, turn it around like this, push it down in, and you can just push it up against the edges. See how pretty that looks? And then you take your hydrangea that you just cut and you set them in there like that. And look how nice. You've already got your centerpiece.
That's beautiful.
It's not going anywhere. Thank you.
And
It's
those
not going
hydrangea
to,
are
and
real.
then
Those hydrangea are real.
these are real. These are everything that I'm using today is fresh flowers. Nothing is artificial, nothing's dried, nothing, it's all fresh flowers. And then we're going to take a few roses, and I did not take the thorns off the roses or the leaves. And I think you can see I did not take the protective petals off either. And I'm going to show you how to do that. You just take the rose and you hold it here and you just pinch it and it pops right off. And those are just the outer petals that aren't quite as pretty or a little crinkly, or maybe they got a little damaged in shipping. And just make sure you get all of it off so that it doesn't look like you pulled it off. And then at the flower shop, we take, I'm going to pull my trash can over just a little bit here. We take a knife, we take the thorns off like this. Is it really necessary if I'm going to cut it short to take the thorns off all the way down here? No. And again, with roses, we cut the roses underwater each time we make a cut as well, because those really need to stay hydrated well too. So I'm going to cut it, and I'm cutting it at an angle, and you can just wiggle it down in. Now, to me, that's a little long. I like them when they sit, but it's better to leave it a little long at first because you can always cut more off, but you can't put it back on. And just tuck it down in. And I'm going to do it again with another one.
We had a question from Terry. Do you put aspirin in the water? I don't know if that's an old.
Never put aspirin. I've heard that you can put pennies in and everything. We have a little flower preserve that you can put in, but I'll tell you what our trick is we put maybe in a vase this size, actually in a vase this size, I would put a 1/4 teaspoon of bleach, of regular just, Clorox bleach. And that really is the best because it keeps the bacteria down and it keeps your vase nice and clean and it does not damage the flowers. If you put too much in, it will damage the flowers. So really just a 1/4 teaspoon is the best. And that really seems to work, the better than the flower preserve, better than anything. And we'll put maybe one more rose in there. And I'm going to cut each cut that I make, I'm still going to make underwater. And you can even, if you want more roses, you can open up the hydrangea real gently and tuck it down in between the blooms. And just push it, you wiggle it in, and it'll stay put. And that's our Kensington Park special. So
I love that. Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to set this one over here, and I'm going to go on to, a lot of people want to know just when they bring their flowers home from maybe even the grocery store, how to put them in a vase. So I thought these are two very different vases, but for something like this one, actually for me, I would put greens in both and start with just the greens. But it's hard because especially in a short vase like same idea as this, but you've got these long flowers, they're going to tend to flop. So a couple ways you can do it. You can take the clear florist tape. I don't know how well you can see this, but the clear florist tape, and you just make a grid and snip it and push it down on the side. The base has to be real dry on the edges or the tape won't stick. And I don't know if you can see, but I just made an X over the top. And I'm just going to make a little pizza pie across it and just keep putting the tape across it. I've made like a star. I don't know if you can see, but I've made a star.
Yep, you can see it.
Okay. And then maybe just 2 pieces on the edge just to make the bit a little bit smaller.
Margaret's wondering, does it matter how much water you put into the vase, or just as long as it covers the bottom of the stems?
Yes, as long as it covers the bottom of the stems. But you're going to be surprised, how much, especially on the first day, how much water they take up. The greens especially drink lots and lots of water. So you're going to want to add water to it every day. So if you don't put a lot of water in, you're going to need to add every day to it. And even if you do put a lot of water in, check it every day. And that's another good point. So you want to change the water in it maybe every 3 days to keep the flowers very fresh. Because the water, even with a little bit of flower preserve or even with a little bit of bleach in there, it's going to start, the flowers are going to start to get mucky and muck up the water. So it's better to keep fresh water. That's the very best thing you can do. I'm going to grab a few greens from behind me. And I like to use a variety of green because I feel like it gives it lots of texture. And this is Salal, common name lemon leaf. And I'm just going to take each stem and cut it. I'm going to cut it kind of short and I'm going to put it in there. And this is the one with the tape, although it doesn't seem like my base must have been wet on the edge. I think when I tipped it forward, I got it wet, so my tape isn't sticking very well, but that's okay.
Is the water cool or warm?
Another good question.
We have lots of them.
These are great questions. So the water is lukewarm. It's really room temperature, maybe it's just a little bit warmer. If I had really, let me see, I didn't bring any really tight flowers because I thought everything we were using today, I wanted to be open and beautiful when I brought it. But like these roses are pretty tight. And if I had a party or a wedding or something where I needed them really open or more open like these, like this one, I don't know if you can see, this one's really open. If I needed it real open like this, I'd give it a fresh cut on the bottom and I put it in very warm water every day until I got it to the size that I wanted it to be, or to the openness that I wanted it to be. And then I'd put it in the cooler. So if you want your flowers to open quickly, put them in warm water. If you don't want them to open quickly, put them in room temperature water. And I don't really put anything in cold water. It kind of shocks them. It's not super good for them. So not to say I don't put them in the cooler and the water cools down with them. But I do, when they first come in and I process them, everything goes in lukewarm water.
Do you recommend adding bleach to any flower, or are there some you should not?
We don't do it to tulips. That's the only one we don't do it to.
But you said tulips?
Tulips. No,
Okay.
It seems to disintegrate the stems quickly.
And as you add more water, as the days go on, do you add more bleach as well?
If I switch the water out completely, yes. If I only dump a little bit of the water and add more, no, because I don't want to put too much bleach in. I don't want to overdo it with the bleach. So my idea here is to start to get it tight enough to hold the flowers. That's my base. And with the tape, it's easy. I don't have to use a lot of greens. If I didn't have the tape in there, I'd probably have to use twice as much. And then with these, I'm just going to put a few pieces in this tall vase. And this one does not have tape on it. So it's just, and I think when I go places and I try to help people, I try to teach the girls at the shop that work, I get lots of college girls that work the front desk at the shop and they all want to know how to do a flower arrangement. So when I teach them, the first thing, I think the biggest mistake I see is when they take, I'm going to use a little bit of this fern. So this is Baker fern. It's very common, but it's good for holding. It really helps make the base of the arrangements tight. But I think the biggest mistake I see is they just take it and they go like that. And they go like that. And it's defeating the purpose of what I'm using it for, which is to help me hold my flowers tight once I get my arrangement in there. So I cut it down and I tuck it in all the way to the base. So you can see the greens are actually in the water just a little bit. And that's okay. I'm going to cut this one down, and I really only need a couple pieces. It's really just to help me hold it tight. And in this one, I'm going to put a couple pieces, but since I have the tape in there, I don't really even need it. But I'm going to just put a couple in there like this. And let me see what else. I brought some Italian ruscus, which isn't that beautiful? We make lots of garlands with that. We make lots of garlands for staircases or weddings and things out of this. But it's also just, you can just cut it and tuck a little bit in like that. And it's just real pretty. It just gives it a very wispy look. And we don't waste anything. Just because I cut the top of this, I'm going to cut it again here. And maybe I'll stick it out the side over here. And you can see it just gives it a nice wispy, again, just more texture. More texture. And maybe in this one, I'll put a little eucalyptus. Here, I have some eucalyptus. This is called gunny. There's lots of different types of eucalyptus. I think the most common type that you see in the flower shops is either the seeded eucalyptus or the baby eucalyptus. But this is called gunny eucalyptus, and I love it. It's real, the leaves are a lot smaller, and it just goes with everything. I use it in a lot of wedding bouquets. And again, it's just, I don't know, it's just giving it lots of texture. And so there, we have a nice base to start with on these, and it's real solid and tight so that when I put my flowers in, they're going to stay where I put them. This is what I try to teach. It doesn't matter what 3 flowers you pick, and they don't have to match, but pick 3 flowers. So this is where I wish you guys could talk to me and tell me which flowers I should use. But I'll take a Gerber daisy, a sunflower, and I'll take an iris because it's right in front of me. And here's another trick. So the Gerber daisies tend to, when you cut them and put them in water, the next day you might come back and the head might be like this. It's not wilting, but it's just kind of grown that way. So if you don't want that to happen and you want it to stay just where you put it, you just take the head and hold it, and very gently you tuck a little piece of wire just into it. You don't want it to come out the top, so just barely into it, and you twist it. And if the wire is too long, because I wanted to put it in here and I was going to cut this short, you can just turn it and go right back up the stem like that. And now that little Gerber daisy is going to stay just like that. And here, I'll try to use my clips because I think that's what you guys are using mostly at home. But you take, again, you know, if I was measuring, I would measure to the end of my base, clip it, and put it in. So I'm going to make a triangle with my first 3 flowers. And again, they don't have to match. It doesn't matter what flowers you pick. Just make a triangle. And I'm going to put my 3rd piece in the triangle. This is just the easiest way to create a more structured looking arrangement at home. But you see my, you can see it, my triangle. And then pick 3 more flowers. And again, it does not matter what you pick. It can be anything.
I'm trying to see if they'll write in the chat box and pick the flowers, but so far I haven't gotten any takers. So if you see a flower that you like, feel free to write in the chat.
That's okay. We're good. And then we'll take here. We'll take one of these. So we have a sunflower, an iris, and a Gerber. Again, it doesn't matter what your flowers are. And a lot of times when you get those packages at the grocery store, you just get the luck of the draw of what's in them. So I want this one to be about this length. So I'm going to cut it here, just stretch it out a little bit more on the table. And so I have my triangle, and now I'm going to put a flower inside each angle on my triangle. So I'm kind of filling in my triangle. Okay, and you see I already have an arrangement. I need to put something in the top, but I already have the start of a really nice arrangement. And we'll take.
We did have some requests that people are loving the orange flowers in the back. I think it's those lilies.
Yeah, okay, so these are nice big orange lilies. And I left this stamen in it on purpose, just so you could see, because this is messy. When they open up, you don't want this dropping on your tablecloth. You don't want it dropping on your sofa, your rugs. They're messy. And I don't even like to get them on my fingers. I get them on my clothes all the time. But I take a tissue or a paper towel and I slightly dampen it just so that it's a little softer and I can manipulate it a little better. And I just lay it over, wrap my fingers around it, and gently pull. And then they're gone. And then I just put the tissue in the trash can. So we have our around, and then I'm going to put this one more towards the top, just because that's the space I have left. And look, do you see what a nice arrangement we have already? So the easiest thing was to make your triangle, fill your triangle sides in, and then put something in the top. And again, it could have been anything. So, and you're ready. You can use, I brought lots of different filler flowers, and they're just what they are, fillers. This is limonium, so purple shade. This is solidago. I have some, this is Monte Cassino, little daisies. And this is one of my favorites. This was really nice and full. This is wax flower. And if you want it a little bit fuller, you can just put a couple pieces of the, here I should use my clippers.
We have a lot of nice compliments coming in, Sherry. So Joy
Oh,
says
you
she
guys are
loves,
pretty. Thank you.
Joy says she loves this class. And Owen says it's beautiful. Wendy says gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
We have lots of fans out there.
All right, I'm going to set over here.
The tip that you shared earlier about cutting on flowers underwater, does that just apply to roses or all flowers?
Roses and hydrangeas, for sure.
Okay, got it.
Hydrangeas, definitely, and even more so the hydrangea. Always cut the hydrangea underwater. And I actually brought some hydrangea with me that I didn't put in water, hoping that they would wilt by now, because they wilt very quickly, but they haven't. So I was a little disappointed because I was going to show you how fast they come back up too. I was thinking that these may have got, this one's getting soft.
Light.
Oh.
You mean you just lay it down on the table.
Like this?
Where light is.
Oh. So it didn't wilt, but if it had, we would have given it a cut underwater like this. And maybe we would have had to, if it was wilted, we would have to cut it a little shorter than we normally would. And then right away, put it in a vase of water and it'll come back up. Now, if it's at the end of its life, it's not going to come back up. But if it's just wilting because it's not taking up water, just give it a fresh cut in your cut bucket. Can't see my cut bucket. Give it a fresh cut in your cut bucket underneath the water and it should come back up. And that will rehydrate it. I thought since it's, Easter and Passover, people might be making centerpieces for their table. So I just picked up, as I was running out the door, I just picked up this wooden box and I grabbed a block of Oasis. And you just take your knife. I don't know if you guys have worked with Oasis or not, but it's simple. You just take your knife. You see, on the back of it, it's even got little lines to help you out. But we're going to cut this one right in the middle because I think you need about a half a block. And the trick with this is just to make sure it's really well soaked. So a way that you can do that is just to submerge it in water until it stops bubbling, which means all the air is out of it. To make it a little more simple today, so I don't want to use up all the water in my cut bucket, I'm just gonna pour water over it and it'll just soak it up.
Sandy has a question. Have you ever heard that the tallest flower should be 1.5 times the height of the vase plus the width? It sounds like a math equation.
I'm not very good in math, so I wouldn't do well with that. I wouldn't do well with that. But I have heard different things like that, but not that one. That's a good one. But if she writes that down, I might take it home and figure it out.
You do have it written down.
That's nothing I can remember right now, but I could try that one. So
and Jennifer says this is so helpful in adding the greens first as a game changer for her.
Ah, good. Okay, well, I just hope that somebody has one takeaway from today that helps them out.
They definitely will.
Somebody asked me yesterday if I still took flower arranging classes, and I said I don't. But somebody had just asked me if I would do a sky garden for their wedding, which I really don't want to do. But that's when they do the hanging pieces that come out of the ceiling and they look like they're in the air, and the flowers are all dripping down, and it just looks like it's suspended in the air. And I said, if I did one of those, I think I might have to take a class for that. That's a lot. But I don't take classes just for everyday arranging. So I'm glad that, and I think that, like I said, and I have taken classes in the not so long ago. And I said, I always take away one trick or something, even if it's something that I already know about, I take away something. So that was my hope today, that you guys would take away something. So I'm taking the Baker fern and I'm just giving it a good covering. And I don't really want to see the Baker fern because it's not my favorite, but it's a great way to cover the oasis. And you can see, I'm just taking it and I just cut it into pieces, and I could cut this piece. I think I watched my niece do this the other day because I was trying to teach her how to do it. And she kept breaking it and trying to, like, it was almost bent when she was trying to stuff it in. So I think the best thing for me to tell you about this is just to make sure each piece is cut like on a sharp angle, and then it tucks into the oasis really easily. And that's really, I don't need a lot of it. I just need a little bit for a foundation. And then again, I'm going to take my lemon leaves, keep an eye on the clock, and I'm going to tuck my lemon leaves in. And this is where you can get as big. If you have a long table, you can extend them out longer. If you just want a little something for the center, you can do that. I'll do that real quick. I'm worried we're going to run out of time, and I want to do the tropical one. I want to do the fun one.
Oh, the tropical one. We still have about 15 minutes, so I think we're okay.
I'm going to go. All right, I'm on. So here, you know what? I just picked these colors, and it's very soft. I just thought it was kind of springy looking. It's really all whites and like a
those are gorgeous.
That's kind of what I thought. Some people really like the all white look, and I just like, when I do the all white, I like to put just a touch of peach or green or yellow. I will tell you, I picked this up. I was going to put this in a glass vase to start with. The hydrangea do not do well in the foam, in the oasis. So the hydrangea do not take up water well when you put them in these blocks. So I would advise against using the hydrangea. I'm going to leave them out of this.
Another question is, how do you make the leaves shiny? Do you use a spray or?
Okay, so if I were doing a centerpiece like this and I were at the shop, I would grab a can of spray and just put a teeny bit on. I don't really like to use the spray a lot. It's an aerosol, it has chemicals in it. It's not my favorite thing to do. So our trick with the, especially on our orchid plants and on larger leaves, like the aspidistris leaves like this, is you eat a banana and you take the banana peel, after you've eaten the banana, you turn it inside out so they act where the banana was, and you can shine it, and it gives a beautiful natural shine. So the inside of the banana peel.
That is a very unique trick.
So again, I think the easiest way to do this, to teach you to make a centerpiece here, would be just to take my flowers, and I made my triangle. And I'm going to keep it low because you want it, when you're sitting at the table, you want to be able to see over it. But I made my triangle. And
we have lots of comments that the triangle is everyone's big takeaway for today. So that's takeaway number one.
Well, I'm gonna make my other triangle, and I'm gonna make it down lower. So I think people tend to put all the flowers up here because that's where they're looking. But if you get down here and you're sitting having dinner, you don't want to just stare at the box and the greens. You want to make sure you get the flowers down low too. And I'm going to pull off those, see how their green petals are still on there. Just pull those off.
We have a question from Ellen. What's the most popular flower to order when you're sending flowers as a gift?
Hydrangeas are really popular. Hydrangeas are really popular. Mixed spring arrangements are really popular right now. Flowers are very trendy. I know that sounds crazy, but they are. And let me say hydrangeas, roses are always tried and true. And then sunflowers are popular, but more in the summer. Tulips are really popular right now because it's spring. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Yeah, I hope so.
And Terry's wondering, where can they get that pretty centerpiece box that you have right there? Would that be at Michael's or?
Get that at Home Goods or Michael's or?
Home Goods, okay.
Home Goods, Michael's, any place like that. I think you could, from a florist or from, I would think you could get it on Amazon too. And a box, I'm going to say this is probably a 6x6 box or 7x7 box, but it's a little bit bigger than you think. Okay.
And how long do the flowers last in the foam?
Sometimes they last longer in the foam than they do in the vases. And I know that sounds interesting, but the foam holds the water. So if you're not good at remembering to water them, the foam will keep it longer. Okay, this is a fun flower. This is Veronica. And I just love this. It's just a fun little happy.
Do you put bleach in the foam?
You don't. It already has preservative in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that like the florist brands, I'm sure the kind of Michael's would too. You think? I would think so. I hope so. So isn't that sweet? Put that on your table. And again, if you want to put a little bit more in it, you can take a little, I like the solidaire because it goes with the color scheme here. And so what I just did, I just stripped it so that it's easier to put in the oasis. And this is a big piece. We don't waste anything. So I can cut this in half. You can cut it with your snips. And remember, as you're looking at it, you want to make sure you get something down there because nobody wants to be looking at the box. Yeah.
Does the Veronica flower open? Molly's wondering.
It's just like that. I think I brought another color too. Yeah, the different colors have like a different look. And like this is curly. I don't know, for some reason this just looks so springy to me. But so there it is in pink, and it also comes in blue.
Yeah, it looks like
A stilby.
Yes, it looks like a stilby.
So Barbara was saying she thought it looked like an astilbe.
Norma says she's really enjoying this presentation, so thank you.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Norma. I hope everybody is. And a shout out to our independent Kensington Park residents who are watching me in the other room.
And the K Club ladies are watching too.
Oh, yay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The more the better. I love it. So, all right, now I want to do the fun one. I want to do this tropical one before I run out of time. And this is so simple. I have 7 minutes. I can do it. Okay, this is just a little plastic dish. It's got a piece of oasis in it. It's already soaked. We can do this. Oh, I brought some river reed. This looks like solid bamboo, but it's really flimsy. Can you see it bends and it's real easy to work with? It's actually better to cut this with scissors. This is fresh. I'm going to make this backwards, so you're looking at the front of it. Okay, and I just took the river reed. I cut it not quite in half. I guess I cut this piece a little bit longer, and then I used the bottom, and I just put 2 pieces right there. And then since I have plenty, I'm just going to snip a little piece here and a little piece here. So this took 2 pieces of river reed. I'm going to stick them up there. I'm going to get some dendrobium orchids. And they come all the way from Thailand. So they're in their little water tubes that they were shipped in. And I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to put one there. And I'm just going to stand them up right next to the river reed. And really, it's only going to take 2. And then this isn't even going to take 7 minutes. I'm almost done. Oh, here, I'll show you this really quick. I'll make it take 7 minutes. Okay, here's a bird of paradise that's closed. They usually come closed so that they don't get damaged in shipping. And if you take it right here in the back and really gently take your thumbnails and just open it up. And it's a little bit gooey in there. Just take your thumb and slide it right under and help it along. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And then by tomorrow, it'll be a lot more open. And then just snip it. I'm just going to snip it short. I'm going to just put it down in the front. And I'm going to snip another little something short. This is just a mum to Pomone. I'm going to snip it real short. It had a little bud on it right there, and that's hard to stick in the oasis. So I'm just going to cut it right above the bud, and it'll sink right down in there.
Nancy's wondering if there's any way to keep the bird of paradise from not leaving sticky stuff on your table.
I've never had that. I didn't know that it did that. I wonder if it comes from inside. I've never had it drip. So I'm so sorry. I don't have an answer for that one. I'm going to take a little bit of Spanish moss, and I'm just going to cover the foam with the Spanish moss. I'm just going to tuck it around and cover it real fast. I'm going to cover the back. Oh, we're almost done. Okay, I was going to take a couple of the green mums, just one stem, and tuck those in a little bit, just to give it a little bit more color. And, just took one stem, and I'm just cutting the mums off the stem like this.
Estella said, what a wonderful program for the beginning of spring, and that she could watch you do this for hours. I agree.
I do this for hours. All day. I brought so many more vases. I'm so disappointed about the time. And this is a little palm. And I'm just going to, this is Robellini palm. And I cut it in half because one piece, it's just too big. It would look silly sticking out of it like that. And then I have some more of the aspidistra leaves under here. And the smaller ones will stand up fine. So I'll take a smaller one and I'll just put it in there. And then this is another little fun. Okay, the bigger ones like this, if you put them in, they just flop over. So nobody wants that. So I'm going to cut it down here at an angle. I'm going to fold it in half and I'm going to tuck it in there like that. I just pushed it right through the leaf.
Isn't that fun?
Here we go. Okay, I can't see it. There
Yes,
you go.
it looks beautiful.
There you go. You got a tropical arrangement in less than 7 minutes.
Plenty of time.
Excellent. We have a few extra questions at the end. So number one is, sometimes flowers, are quite expensive. Do you have any advice for buying flowers within a budget?
I would have said Whole Foods a couple of years ago, but I don't think that that's the way to go now. Honestly, I pick stuff out of my yard all the time. Now, I don't garden, so I don't have a beautiful garden because I just don't have time. But I pick greens out of the yard. I have Nandina. I just have lots of bushes, and you can just snip the bushes. I have grasses, and I just snip the grasses and I use those. So that would be a way. And I cut the hosta foliage and I use my hostas. That would be a way to cut on the greens for sure. And you could have a lot of tropical looking foliage for nothing. And then as far as the flowers go, I think there are decent flowers at some of the supermarkets. I don't like the ones that I see that are dyed hot pink and the neon green and things like that. Although these are natural neon green, as I say that. I love the neon green, but I like the natural. I think I would go more that route. I don't know, I don't shop at Trader Joe's, but somebody told me Trader Joe's has nice flowers.
They do have nice flowers. I'm a Trader Joe's fan.
I'm going to give it to Trader Joe's then. Yeah, you use your own greens and you go to Trader Joe's and get a bunch of flowers. And, you know, again, it doesn't matter what you get in the package because like I showed you in this arrangement, this is one of each. And there's no two flowers in here that are the same and it doesn't matter. You can make a beautiful arrangement with it. So, or you can get something that's all monochromatic in one of those bunches and you can make something like this. So if you're on a budget, I think that would probably be the best way to do it.
Excellent. We have a couple more.
Yeah.
We have lots of comments and questions. You're very, very popular. This is a wonderful program. Where do you buy your flowers?
They come from all over the world. So
right. You just said that one's from Thailand.
From Thailand. The hydrangeas come from Colombia. Most of my roses come from Colombia. A lot of the flowers come from California and Florida. Right now, in South America is having horrible weather and it's ruining the crops and it's making flowers very difficult to find. Flowers are very scarce right now and will be for Mother's Day. So I almost feel like I'm a flower hoarder when I can get something. I feel like try to order as much as I can.
Ellen is wondering what's the best way to keep daffodils from wilting besides the wiring? Is there a way?
Yes. Okay. So I brought daffodils just for that reason, but of course I forgot the other piece of it. Okay. So the daffodils tend to bend in here, and two ways to help them. It's very hard to put them in oasis because they have such a soft stem. So if you take a pencil or a pen first and you poke your hole. I'm going to turn this so you can see. You poke your hole in the oasis like that, it helps them go in a lot easier. Secondly, if you cut them, the stems are hollow. Barbara, you might have to help me with the word. I call them chenilles. They're pipe cleaners.
Oh.
A pipe cleaner.
Yes.
So if you take a pipe cleaner, I meant to bring a pipe cleaner, but if you take a pipe cleaner and you get it wet, put the pipe cleaner in the water, push it up the stem, and you don't want to force it because by the time you get to the top, it's too thin and it'll crack it, but put it up as far as it'll go easily. And then take wire cutters or, you know, garden snips, I think would work, and cut the chenille at the length that you want the flower, and that'll keep it up.
Ah, excellent. You get those at Michael's.
Yeah, you can get those at Michael's, Barbara said.
And then we had a question about the flower warehouses. Are they less expensive?
Oh,
like I think there's.
I don't know. I've never been to one.
Okay.
I don't know. I know they have like what they call tiered pricing or something, but I don't even know what that is. So I'm so sorry, I'm not helpful there.
And then can you tell us a little bit about your family and owning Suburban Florist for so long?
Oh yeah, so my parents started it. I don't know if anybody remembers Blackstone Florist, but they both worked at Blackstone Florist when they were teenagers, and they got married and they thought we can do this. So they opened Suburban Florist in Bethesda. We used to be on Wisconsin Avenue, right across from the Jazz and Blues Club. And we were there, now I think that's part of the Marriott building, I'm not sure. But we were there for 33 years, 32 years. And then the rent just got too expensive. So we moved out of there and we moved on to Old Georgetown Road. And we bought a house that we renovated into a flower shop. And we were one of the first businesses that did that. And so when we're still there, we've been there for 35 years, I think. So we've been in business a total of 65 years. So I think maybe 30 years on Wisconsin Avenue. And so my parents started it, and there was never really an option. I mean, we never really talked about it. We just went to work with our parents all the time. And if it was a holiday and we had to go home and go to bed or actually go to school, we would stay at my grandma's house, who lived right down the street. And my grandma would also help out. But we just always worked there. So it wasn't even a thought in our head that we would go somewhere else afterwards. So my kids have grown up in the business too. Like when I had my children, I would bring them to work with me and I would put them in a swing, or, you know, we passed them around, but they always came to the flower shop, and every day after school, the bus dropped them off at the flower shop. So I'm hoping that maybe one of my kids will continue the business after I'm gone. But does that tell you about my family?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Terry's wondering, do you have gardenias at Suburban Florist? Because she loves gardenias.
Okay, I have gardenia plants, but they don't have blooms on them right now. They have buds on them. And then the cut gardenias we can get, they're very expensive, but you have to order them in advance. So at least a week out, you have to order the cut gardenias, and I can get them. But they run like almost $20 a bloom.
Wow.
I know, but they're so beautiful. When we get them, we're always passing around the box because they smell like heaven.
Oh, that's a nice one. All right. Well, thank you, Sherry. I think that wraps it up. Today was wonderful. Janet said she will take over if your kids don't.
Okay, come on in, Janet.
So everybody go visit Sherry at Suburban Florist. We wanted to say thank you for our last webinar. You were excellent. And we had some big fans in the audience today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye-bye.